The big game, I think, with respect to the current state of the college football polls, is Ole Miss against Georgia. This one is 3:30. It's on ABC. It is Saturday afternoon. This is a game that Ole Miss won, sort of a program-defining win in a sense, a year ago, 28-10 at home in Oxford. It is the highest-ranked matchup of the week. We've got two top 10 teams at play here. And bigger picture, at least on the Ole Miss side, this game against Georgia, the game they've got next week on the road against Oklahoma. These are the two big ones, man. You win one of them, you don't do anything stupid the rest of the way, I think you're in the playoff.
Okay, just that easy.
Just that easy. In the SEC, all you got to do is just win the games you're supposed to.
Yeah.
So, this is a 6.5-point spread for Georgia. It is up. I believe it opened around 4.5. What is your initial lean here? Number 5, Ole Miss on the road at number 9, Georgia.
I lean Ole Miss covering this game, but not winning this game. I think there is something about Georgia at home. Georgia does, by the way, the last 3-4 years, they don't cover these games. There's something like, I'm going to get the stat wrong, but they are clearly below 500 in terms of how they perform as a home favorite. I don't like their lack of explosion on offense. I don't love that they don't do anything incredibly well. Again, aside from stopping the run, which is meaningful against Ole Miss, when that was like the one thing that was working last week against Wazoo. There was a certain amount of lethargy that Ole Miss was playing with against Wazoo last week, by and large. You want to say that's a look-ahead spot, that's fine. They were coming off of a bye, I believe, which either points to it or points to something in terms of lack of focus. I think Ole Miss is good. I think they're potentially really, really good. This is a specific kind of spot at Georgia that, let's hope, isn't too big for Trinidad Chambliss, coming from where he came from. Ole Miss only plays 4 road games this season. I looked this up. It's at Kentucky, at Georgia, at Oklahoma, and at Mississippi State, of course, in state. So this is by far going to be the biggest road stage to date for this year's version of Ole Miss and Trinidad Chambliss. So that worries me a little bit given the rust that he showed coming off of the bye last week. I also think it was a good wake-up call probably for Ole Miss, that Wazoo game that they kind of slept-walked, something like that. There's nothing I truly love about Georgia right now. And so covering that kind of number against what I feel like is a high-quality Ole Miss team, I'm going to kind of have to see it to believe it. I think they were somewhat fortunate to come away with a win at Auburn. That was a tough spot for them. And by the way, that's a compliment that they were able to win that game. To win losable games is a difficult thing, especially on the road. I think there is a certain amount of moxie to Georgia. I just don't know if you can count on it week to week. And I think Ole Miss last year, God, I think it was from Home Alone, right? Where Kevin McAllister walks out of his front door. It's like, I'm not afraid anymore. Did you hear me? There is kind of that feeling in the SEC about Georgia right now.
There is. There really is.
I'm not afraid anymore. And Ole Miss had that breakthrough last year.
Yeah.
And Kentucky had that breakthrough last year. It was 13-12 game or something like that. The mystique, the Georgia mystique, is not what it was even 2 years ago.
I got to pull that sound now. You're going to force me to pull that sound.
It's a pretty good sound.
Wow, what a pull. Good for you,
Thank
man.
you.
That's a good one.
So I think Georgia still has enough to win this game. I think the best of Georgia on the ground running the ball. I think there's still enough talent. I think there's still enough creativity on this offense at its best to pull this game out. But I think it's going to be weird and tight, 23-21 Georgia.
Man, we're hanging out too much, aren't we?
Of course we are.
We talk to each other more than we talk to our wives, which is probably not good. But
and between me and you, that's not so bad.
I mean, I like you.
It's not so bad.
We're all right. We're cool.
Yeah.
Statistically speaking, not to make this conversation too boring, what's interesting to me is because there's a little bit of weakness on weakness going on here. And what I mean by that is Georgia has not been very efficient on the ground. Even though they're running it 62% of the time when they're not in like an obvious passing situation.
Yeah.
There are pretty clear signals here that Kirby wants to make fetch happen on the ground. He wants to run it, doesn't care as much if they're efficient at it, but that's just sort of his brand.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good plan because Ole Miss is very gettable on the ground. Like if you take away that LSU game, which I do think is a bit of a red herring because LSU can't run on anybody.
Right.
Ole Miss has given up like 5 yards a carry. So I think it's there if Kirby wants to pursue that. But to my eye as well, this looks like a close, low-scoring game. I've got it at 24-20.
Okay.
I think Georgia wins it. I think because of defense and special teams. I have more confidence that Georgia and Gunnar Stockton are going to make a clutch play. Like what jumps out at me a lot here when I look at the numbers and the aforementioned mystical spreadsheet is that Ole Miss is really good at getting pressure, but not great at getting sacks. And that skis me out a little bit going into a matchup with an improviser like Gunnar Stockton, who is particularly dangerous when you get him on the move. Just kind of pulling plays out of the hat. It's dangerous,
Okay.
I think, with a guy like Zachariah Branch, who isn't necessarily going downfield, but is really good in space.
Yeah.
Ole Miss right now profiles as a very average tackling team, right? So you kind of mix all that stuff together, and it strikes me as, hey, there's going to be a big play here. Don't know necessarily where it's going to come from. It's going to hinge on like one or two big plays. That's what I'm getting from this. A shifty guy like a Zachariah Branch maybe can thrive in a matchup like this. I agree with you. What do you say, 23-21?
Yeah.
I'm going to go 24-20. I think we agree. I think Ole Miss covers, but I think Georgia wins.
Yeah. By the way, Georgia has not covered this year at any sort of impressive rate. I don't think Vegas, I don't think people have a really good handle on what Georgia can be. I think they're very well coached. I just think in terms of talent at too many spots, if they were wearing another sticker on their helmet, I think we would think differently about this Georgia team. Again, winning last week was impressive that they were able. That was such a losable moment for them that they were able to finish off Auburn. But yeah, I think Ole Miss is of too much quality to lose this game comfortably. So I either think they win it or they lose it close, and it should be super entertaining.
You know, you've been having a pretty good run of picks here over the last 3 weeks or so, and it gives me a little bit more confidence in my own pick here.
All right. Well, I took Auburn last week to win outright.
You did.
And I kind of stand by it. I would do it again.
You did. But otherwise, you've been pretty good.